So upon doing my research on you, I was quite surprised that you was a super middleweight fighter, to be fair, because you're quite a big guy. Like,
Everybody says this,
you're
but
quite,
it's like
like, I thought you'd be a light heavy, if I'm being
I don't
honest.
think so. Like everyone says this, but I make the weight so easily that I feel maybe I should be a middleweight. Because it's like I only walk around a couple kilos heavier than my fight weight, and that's when I'm doing no running, eating what I like. So it's just maybe I always have in the back of my mind maybe I'm a small super middleweight, but the fact that everybody says it, then I guess it must be true.
So, what's your thoughts on? Do you reckon you could handle the light heavyweight division?
Yeah, I spar light heavyweights, so eventually, probably, yeah. Once I've achieved what I want to achieve at super middleweight, then maybe towards the end of my career, I'll move up. I'll never see myself moving down though.
So what? Okay, now we're talking about super middleweights. What's your thoughts on? What do you reckon the result would be in a fight between Billy Joe Saunders and Golovkin? Who do you reckon's gonna win that? And I want a detailed analysis of your answer and why.
Saunders, because Golovkin's too flat-footed. However, Golovkin, he's persistent and he has a very good jab, which is underrated. So I feel like there is a chance he could break down Billy Joe and slow him down if he implements the right game plan, i.e. going to the body. But we all know Billy Joe's good on his feet and he can probably box circles around Golovkin. Maybe that's why they don't want the fight, or maybe it's another high-risk, low-reward fight. So, but I believe Billy Joe Saunders will have a very good chance at beating Golovkin in that fight. And when you look at it, who has Golovkin really beat?
True.
Even the Danny Jacobs fight, I gave that to Jacobs.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
So who has
Golovkin? It was tight though. But I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. Let's switch to my favourite weight division. A weight division that's got the attention of most fighters currently. Let's talk about the heavyweights for a bit. I got a few questions to ask you. I want to know your opinion on Chisora's outburst in the press conference, in the Progress and Taylor press conference. What's your thoughts on what he said?
Justified. He's right.
Do you agree with it?
Yeah.
Go on, let me hear this, and I'll tell you my opinion after.
All right. You're fighting in London.
Yeah.
One guy's from Scotland. The other guy's from America. It's a London crowd. Who are they coming to see? Secondly, it's heavyweights. Well-known heavyweights at that. Two heavyweights that bring attention. A former world champion, and then you got Dereck Chisora. Everyone knows, good fighter, former European champion. Without them two on the card, is that box office? How much numbers is it going to do?
Not much.
To be honest,
I don't think it will sell at the O2.
I'm only watching that show for that fight.
Okay.
If they weren't on the card, I wouldn't really have any interest in that fight. So
I'm going to be honest, I think I'm more even interested in seeing the Coley fight.
Okay, yeah.
Than the main fight.
Yeah, I mean, the undercard, the undercard is good. But I feel like Chisora is right because they do this to him over and over again. They're always putting him on the undercard because they know that could probably boost the sales.
But I hear what you're saying, you're right. But I feel, I'm going to say a couple of points here. I feel as if Dereck Chisora's problem is, I feel like he's taken his boxing career. This is just my humble opinion before I get slated. Yeah. I think the main issue with him is he's took his boxing career seriously too late.
Okay.
And I say that, I feel like he started to take his boxing career seriously after his first loss against Dillian Whyte. Before that fight, Dereck Chisora, he never used to come into the fights looking in shape.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Because he seemed motivated for that fight. I think all the trash talking that Whyte was doing made him motivated for that fight, and that gave him his hunger back. Because I think he went to fight somewhere in either Europe, and he just looked terrible.
Yeah.
And then that, along with David Hay's giving him more structure, more discipline. So maybe that plays a factor. But what do you mean when you say too late?
Okay, in terms of, all right, cool. Dereck Chisora has been around for a long time, you know what I mean? And he's only taken his boxing career seriously now. Now he's in shape, he's really doing well as a boxer. Like, for example, even in the second Dillian Whyte fight, I felt like if he didn't get knocked out, he was ahead on points up until that point, in my opinion. Yeah, it was disappointing that he did lose that fight, but I do rate Dillian as well. So cool. He's first and foremost, he should have been in these headlining shows way before now. Do you know what I mean? Way before Joshua and all that. But it's like now he's taking it seriously. Yeah. Secondly, he is right in what he's saying. He's bringing the crowd and stuff. But before the press conference and everything, I'm sure Eddie Hearn would have had to agree all of these things with him beforehand. Yeah. Now he's just had an epiphany. Yeah. He's caused this publicity stunt saying, if I'm not the headline, I'm not fighting, or else I want more money. Do you know what I mean? Like, fair enough, you're bringing the crowd and stuff, but surely you should have been more business savvy and to know your worth before you come in the audience. Do you know what I mean?
I think that was a very smart move, him waiting until the press conference to do that.
It's a bit disrespectful in terms of it.
He's forced them but he's forced them in a position where they have to now. It's not behind the scenes. It's on television. It's televised, so everyone can see. And then we're having this discussion now, saying, "Is he right? Is he wrong?" A lot of people's gonna say, "Yeah, he's right," and I've seen a lot of people across social media saying he's right. So now that's forcing Eddie Hearn to do something about it, because no one wants Chisora and Parker's fight to get removed from the card. And then on top of it,
but is it fair for Taylor and them guys that thought they were supposed to be headlining it?
Fair in terms of what? Because it's like, how many numbers would they do?
Okay.
Without Chisora being on that card. So fair in terms of what? Like Chisora said, have the fight in Scotland then, where Taylor's from. Have the fight in America. Why do you have to have it in London?
So where do you think?
And I think Eddie Hearn loves it, to be honest, because it's brought more attention to the...
Yeah, Eddie Hearn loves it.
Yeah.
Like, all publicity is good publicity at the end of the day. Where do you think Dereck Chisora comes in at the heavyweights? Matter of fact, rank your top 5 heavyweights at the moment.
It's hard to tell between Fury and Wilder.
In order.
See, Fury and Wilder, I would have them 1 and 2. I don't know.
What happened to Josh, though?
I wouldn't have him as number 1.
You wouldn't?
Nah.
Okay, explain why.
It's just
what's Fury? Well, no, what's Wilder got that Joshua ain't? Because I think maybe
he's a champion.
Yeah, but think, who did he win it from though? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Stavern.
No, but this is when Stavern was Stavern though. It's not the Stavern he fought in the second time. And if you look how Wilder boxed in that fight as well, he was cautious. He boxed on the back foot behind his jab. He looked disciplined. And it went 12 rounds. So it wasn't an easy fight for him.
But having said that, you're saying it wasn't the current Stavern now. But the Stavern back then, Joshua was knocking him out in probably the 5th.
You could say that, but who did Joshua win the belt from?
Charles Martin.
Who did Charles Martin win the belt from?
I'm not sure. Who did he win it from?
It was a vacant title, because remember, it was Fury's belt.
Yeah.
It was a vacant title after Fury got stripped from it. I think it was the IBF. Charles Martin against, I think it was an Eastern European. It got to round 2. Yeah, it got to round 2. The guy's knee popped out. That's how Charles Martin won.
Yeah.
So
but that was one of his belts. Then he fought Klitschko.
All right.
And then
Klitschko, who was out for 2 years.
But Klitschko,
after already coming off a loss to Fury. Can you see my point?
I can see your point.
When Fury beat Klitschko, the reason I've got Fury higher than Joshua is because when Fury beat Klitschko hadn't lost in 10 years. Klitschko wasn't out of the ring for 2 years.
I'm not arguing with you in terms of Fury being a better boxer than Joshua. I'm talking about Wilder. I don't feel that Wilder...
He has a belt. How can you not put him above...
Because
he's the champion.
It's who he won
the
it
WBC
from.
at
Literally, that. Look at bloody Joe Joyce beat Thingy. And Joe Joyce ain't even top 10.
Joe Joyce was getting his face licked by Stavern, getting countered left, right and centre. Stavern was on the ropes with his hands down saying, knock me out.
Let me show you something though. I don't rate Joe Joyce. I'm being honest.
Neither do I.
Okay, cool. Do your ranking. Let me see this. Let me hear this.
Nah, because I'm saying as well, Wilder, you have to give respect that he's fought 39 people and all of them's back has touched the floor. All of them. Everyone he's fought, he's knocked them down on the canvas.
Again, who has Wilder really fought though? Except
who has anyone really fought?
I reckon Joshua's had the hardest fights.
Wilder fought Ortiz. Let me put it into perspective. Ortiz was unbeaten at the time. Southpaw, Cuban, over 300 amateur fights, avoided in the heavyweight division. Eddie Hearn signed him when there was talks of him fighting Joshua. Eddie Hearn gives him 2 terrible fights and then drops him. We don't hear anything of Ortiz no more. Wilder gives him the shot. Remember that. Ortiz failed his test. Wilder said, I'm still going to fight him just for the fact that he's the boogeyman. Wilder was gonna go to Russia to fight Povetkin. I give Wilder so much respect because I know he really wants to fight the best. I'm not saying Joshua doesn't.
Okay.
I know Joshua wants to fight the best as well, but I'm saying people say Wilder doesn't want to fight the best. They say, look at his resume, he doesn't want to fight the best. Of course he does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so alright, let me hear your 5. Let me hear your top 5.
I got Wilder and Fury, 1 and 2. I don't know what order.
Okay.
Ruiz at number 3.
Okay.
You have to though.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna comment. I just want to hear.
AJ at 4.
Yeah.
And 5 is a tough one. In the world scene, might have to say Dillian White.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you mine. And this should be the certified list. Do you know what I mean? Cool. Number 1, I'll give it to Fury as the best heavyweight. Yeah. Because in terms of like stylistically, and he's just a natural boxer. Do you know what I mean? He looks good in the ring. He fights like he's a super middleweight, not a heavyweight. He might not have the most power, but in the ring craftsmanship, he knows what he's doing. Then I'm gonna have to slap in my boy Joshua because I feel like his training has got him to the place that he is now. He isn't such a natural boxer, but he's been coached so well and knows the basics of boxing so well that he's gotten so much better. And you've seen that in each fight. Like every Joshua fight that I've seen, I think, okay, what's he coming with this time? How's he improved? And I've seen improvement in each fight.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool. Third, I'm just gonna have to say Wilder, but I'm gonna have to say it reluctantly, innit?
You don't like Wilder,
but it's not that I don't like the guy. I ain't got nothing against him, but I just don't think he's that great. Like even when he fought Fury, 1 second, when he fought Fury, yeah, I just saw him swinging, like just swinging.
He was desperate to knock him out
whatsoever. Do you know what
because
I mean?
think about it. If you know you have that power where you just need to land one, you know you can just rely on that, which is what he was doing. I think he was just over anxious. Fury got into his head. He was over anxious to knock him out. But I've seen Wilder box discipline before. He's got a very good jab. You don't win a bronze at the Olympics after only being boxing for 2 years if you didn't have something about you. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you. So cool. That's my top 3. 4 and 5. Number 4, I'm gonna have to give it to Dillian White for sure. But having said that, even though I'm gonna give it to Dillian, I don't think his last fight was amazing.
Who was his last fight against?
What's that guy's name? He's South
American.
What's his name again? I forgot his name. Who he fought?
What, the South American guy?
Yeah, the South American guy. He beat him, but he wasn't as clean as I wanted him to look. He wasn't as sharp. I think in the build-up, when I saw him on the pads and stuff, he was looking unstoppable. He was looking powerful, sharp, quick. In the ring, he looked a bit lethargic. You know what I mean?
But I mean, anything can happen on fight night. Like, it could be the occasion that got to him. Like, you know what I mean? Your nerves can affect you. But at the same time, now we know afterwards that he had all that going on with the board of control. So that could have been in the back of his mind. Could have drained him. But I think he implemented a good game plan in that fight.
And then my 5th, it's hard. 4 and 5 is difficult. I'm gonna just put in Ruiz and Dillian, because this is my analysis from the Joshua fight. Yeah, I feel like in that Joshua fight, Ruiz did really well. I think naturally as a boxer, things come more natural to him than they do to Joshua. And Joshua was winning up until he got knocked down in the 3rd round. Joshua was looking sharp. He was looking good. Even though his ring walk might have been off, he might have looked tense and stuff, he was winning. He got caught with a shot to the temple, yeah, and that just threw off his whole game plan. And what people need to understand, yeah, at the end of the day, no matter how tough you are, your brain's your brain, yeah. If you get a solid hit in your head, yeah, like
you're only gonna react one
exactly.
way. Yeah.
You can replace your heart, but you can't replace your brain. Do you know what I mean? And it's a thing where from there it just threw him off, and then it just got worse and worse, and then he ended up losing. I'm sure he will do well in the rematch. So yeah, that's why I have to slot Ruiz in there. Not so high, but he is definitely in there. He's a good boxer. What do you think is going to happen in the rematch between Joshua and Ruiz?
It's difficult because it can go either way. I mean, depends what Joshua implements. I think Joshua has to be very disciplined behind the jab.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think him coming forward, being forceful behind the jab would benefit him because Ruiz doesn't go back. You saw it in the first fight. Joshua would come forward at times, Ruiz wouldn't go back, and then they end up being on the inside. Joshua doesn't want to be there with Ruiz. He's got faster hands, and he's shorter. So I think discipline behind the jab, off the back foot. But have we ever seen that from Joshua before?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Against Parker.
Yeah. He played it very safe, that fight, and I understand why. He won all belts.
That's what I'm saying. So he would have to implement something very similar to that, in my opinion. But I'm still on the fence with that fight. I don't know. It could go either way. But I think Joshua can definitely win easily if he makes those adjustments.
And lastly, what's your thoughts on the fight being at in Saudi Arabia?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's what this thing's about, man. It's entertainment.
Expanding.
Yeah, just make every event extravagant. That's what it's about, man. People were probably giving backlash to Muhammad Ali for fighting in Africa when it happened. So
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. What do you reckon you're going to expect to see in this fight different in terms of entertainment that Saudi Arabia is going to offer than anywhere else?
I mean, like, you see when they have the World Cup in different nations and then you get to experience that culture, like how they present it to you. We might see something like that. I don't know, maybe the whole build up as well.
I'm expecting to see lions and the ring walk in the cages with
That's
fire.
That would be
everything.
Yeah.
It will be a good experience.
Yeah.
I wish I was able to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good fight.
I'm all for that, man. Like, make it as extravagant as possible. This is entertainment.
For sure. But yeah, anything else you want to tell the people before we go? Any up and coming fights? Social media. Let them know everything before we go.
Social media, Instagram, Sledgy Baby. That's SLEDGY _BABY.
Yeah.
Twitter, ruler_Redman.
Okay.
RULER_REDMAN.
Okay.
And yeah, that's my social media. Up and coming fight. I think the end of November is when my title eliminator is rescheduled for.
Okay. So everyone, you hear that? Follow him on all socials. Get at him for tickets. And yeah, we'll see a lot more from Adrian Redman soon. Nice having you, man.
Thanks, bro.
Cheers.